Philip Kennedy Johnson, Dan Jurgens, Leah Williams, Rafa Sandoval, Lee Weeks, and Marguerite Sauvage unveil a new era of Superman as Metropolis's bright future is interrupted by the return of Metallo. Philip Kennedy Johnson, Dan Jurgens, and Leah Williams begin an exciting new era for the Superman family books post-Dark Crisis, reformatting Action Comics into a family book for the heroes along with a couple of backups that act as a sequel to Dan Jurgens' Lois and Clark series, and a follow-up to Power Girl's trippy story from Lazarus Planet by Leah Williams, both of which you can check out in detail in upcoming videos separately. Johnson headlines this book with an exciting beginning to his Speeding Bullets storyline that sets up Metallo as the main threat for the Superman and his family, building off of the character's plot from the end parts of Warworld Saga and Kal-El Returns, and making him a considerable threat for Superman and his family. It's very exciting to have a classic Superman villain be the villain again. It's been a while since we've had Superman actually fight a lot of his classic villains, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that in this series as well as in Joshua Williamson's upcoming Superman book. Johnson actually uses a lot of the stuff he played around with at the end of Warworld Saga to keep going here, keeping Osel and Othel as Superman family members and kids that Clark and Lois have adopted as their own. He also sets up a cool new direction for John Henry and Natasha Irons, which we will see more of in the Steelworks book coming later this year. Everything is set up with a fantastic grand cinematic feel to it, and as I said when I reviewed issue 1050, the feeling I have for the story reminds me of how I felt pre-New 52 and how the Superman books were in that. There was just great sense of continuity and the world feels so full and exciting with all these different characters. And here, even making Metropolis its own sort of character again helps achieve this feeling, and I'm really excited to see what's to come. Rafa Sandoval, Lee Weeks, and Marguerite Sauvage's artwork for the issue was filled with brilliant action and character moments, with Rafa headlining the main story and depicting the reveal of the new Superman family in a great cinematic way. New costumes are abound, everyone except for Superman gets a new costume in some way, and they all look fantastic and have a great uniformity to them, and they all look really fresh and new and exciting, and I love them all, they're great. He also follows on from Riccardo Federici's new Metallo design, and makes the villain look even more terrifying with great use of the color green just shooting out of his eyes and mouth and all these orifices, and it just looks great. Lee and Marguerite's backups were great as well, with Lee returning to the Lois and Clark storyline and giving it a very wholesome, quieter and more reserved feel, being that it's just set on a farm, and Marguerite's work was as colourful and vibrant as the Lazarus Planet backup she did recently. Action Comics issue 1051 was a fantastic new beginning for the Superman family, setting up a cool and refreshing plot that builds off of Johnson's Warworld Saga to great effect, and springboards the story into some really cool territory with the family dynamic taking point over just Superman as the main character. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Action Comics issue 1051 heads to Metropolis, where Lois Lane writes an article detailing how Metropolis's historians separate history of the city into two time periods, before Superman arrived and after he arrived. She knows the Superman age changed every aspect of life in the city overnight, as in the city, there is a protest about the Warworlders deciding to stay on the planet, causing people to be for and against them. Suddenly a man pulls a gun on the other protesters as a series of vans speed towards them, their engines filled with explosives. Lois knows that in the months before Superman, a violent crime was on the rise, corruption poisoned the city, and even the wind was different. But now, instead of being powered by the forces of nature, the wind is now powered by the presence of danger. As the man with the gun fires at the police, a red-blue blur sweeps him off his feet, destroying the bullet as more blurs dismantle the van speeding towards the protest, throwing them high into the sky to explode safely. Lois knows that with the winds changing, the Age of Miracles began, and recently it's on a lot of people's minds again, as the city's enemies are growing bolder again, returning to their old pre-Superman ways. But much like the last time, the people have a reason to hope, as the Superman family arrive at the protest, apprehending the men men trying to do harm to them. As the people celebrate Superman's return to Earth, a man finds the protesters' gun, but a dog begins violently barking and its child owner sees who he really is, as the man is revealed to be John Corbin, who uses his orphan box to teleport back to Lex's lab, where Lex tells the villain that he's growing impatient with John's inaction and why didn't he do his mission today. John hates Lex for being inside his mind, knowing that there is something wrong with his face. Lex tells him that he used John's own DNA to make his face again, so it should be perfect, but John tells him that a kid saw him and knew there was something different about him. Lex reminds John that his sister is still in danger, and John assures his boss that he'll do the job tomorrow. At the home of the Kents, the family have a get-together as Keenan and Connor play some video games, and Connor finds that Keenan pulled a fast one on him, having already played the game before, allowing the Superman to beat the Superboy. John meanwhile tries to introduce Othel and Othel to some trading card games, explaining how the different level cards and monsters work, but the kids can't really understand it. So he decides to head to the cupboard and find a new game, discovering his father's Warworld warrior armor is still in there. Lois quickly shuts the door, reminding her son of personal space, hinting that the suit is there for her and Clark's personal time. Connor calls to John, telling him that his father is about to say something as Clark gathers his family, telling them that John once asked him why he doesn't do more. He knows that he's always trusted humanity to find their way, and he still does, but it's become clear to him that now is the time for them to do more. Clark thinks that with everything they have seen, Earth needs to see that too, and with Steelworks Tower opening tomorrow, Metropolis will become a leader in scientific innovation, and John and Natasha will be the face of that progress. Clark knows that they won't save humanity by diverting a flood or outrunning a train. They will do it by showing humanity that they are the ones with the miracles in them. He reveals Lois and him have also decided to take in Othel and Othel, letting the kids live with them. Kara welcomes them to the House of El, gifting them some new costumes, as Natasha notices that John seems distant, asking if his parents told him about this. John knows they did, but he didn't really understand the situation until now, but he's happy since the kids just got the best parents in the world. The next day, Steelworks Tower is open, despite the threats from the Blue Earth movement who protest the opening, not wanting aliens or alien tech on Earth anymore. The Daily Planet press cover the event, detailing how John and Natasha Irons are running the Institute and the Superman family of Metropolis are also overseeing the event. Noting the two new members of the team being young Warworld refugees, the internet has now dubbed the Super Twins. They know that Superman himself isn't there as Lois and Clark go about their jobs for the Daily Planet, with Lois filling in for Perry, telling the recovering editor on the phone to stop calling her since she has it all under control. Inside the building, security find a man has entered one of the exhibits on the roof, demanding that he leave the tower since it's not open for another 30 minutes. The man is revealed to be Metallo and he attacks the guards, killing them violently as John takes the stage below, telling the people that all of the solutions to many of Earth's problems lie in education and technology, and he plans on making the world better thanks to the United Planets helping him design a clean, sustainable energy grid for Metropolis, and if it can power Metropolis, it can power any city in the world. Connor notices something above the tower, taking off to investigate the man who snuck into the building. Suddenly, he is hit by a kryptonite blast as John finishes his speech, telling the people that the first shot at the technological revolution has been fired in the city of tomorrow. Suddenly, the tower's top explodes and the ground cracks open beneath them. Clark jumps into action as the tower begins to come down. The family begin to brace the falling structure, but John notices the foundations have shifted, meaning they will lose the entire building. Superman catches the falling comms tower, hurling it into space as he begins to hear Metallo's voice in his head, calling for the hero to follow the voice so he can get this over with. Metallo tells Superman that this isn't about revenge or something stupid like that, and he was fine staying in jail and letting his sister have some type of normal life, but Superman had to go and do his self-righteous hero thing, and now because of him, his sister is in trouble. Metallo reveals himself, having defeated and captured Superboy, as he tells Superman that the hero breaks things, and because of that, he's got to kill him.